Pixel. Now, I haven't really touched Pixels in my life. I've touched phones like the Nexus 4, the Nexus S. Those were phones that I had back when around the times that they first came out. And I've always wanted to mess with the Pixel. I just never had the opportunity to. And boy, am I glad that Google done something very good in making a $500 Pixel that doesn't feel like you're getting fleeced. It doesn't feel like Google just ran through your pockets and took the money and then ran off. And to me, that's very nice. Now, obviously, for people that are Pixel 7, Pixel A series aficionados and whatnot, there are obviously some gripes that people have, right? And I'm not going to sit here and minimize those, or anything of the sort. But what I'm going to say is, as somebody that just was like, you know what, I'm going to try a Pixel, went for the A series, and I don't really have any problems. Oh, God. Sorry. A bunch of construction. You can't see it, but they're constructing new apartment complexes out here, so it's getting a bit dicey in terms of the noise. But yeah, Google Pixel 7a starts at $500. Now, there are some likes that I have and some gripes that I have, and I will definitely get into that right now. Overall, I like the design. It obviously looks like a Pixel 7. Really no issues there. If you go with this compared to like the regular Pixel 7, you're not really missing much. In fact, in some cases, you're gaining some stuff. Like, I think this has a slightly larger battery. Like, it's a smaller phone. I think the Pixel 7 is like, 6.5 inches or 6.3 inches? I don't remember. Whereas this has a 6.1 inch display. Obviously, with my big man hands, it does kind of feel like a baby phone sometimes, especially swapping from like an Xperia 1 Mark III and an LG V60, which I'm using to record this right now. It can at times feel like a baby phone. But overall, I don't necessarily have any sort of issues with that. Any issues that are like catastrophic. You get a 64 megapixel sensor on the back. Bends down to 16. It's a Sony sensor, and it's very good. There are some things that I've talked about comparing it to the LG V60's 64 megapixel Samsung sensor, and you guys can watch that video if you want to see exactly what I say. But overall, I do think the Pixel experience, from what I've heard from other people, does translate quite well. There are some problems that I do have with the processing and how Google handles certain scenes. But overall, I feel like for the point and shoot experience, for the people that want that kind of deal and that don't want to break the bank, this is very good. Yes, it doesn't have a telephoto lens, but you have this big old 64 megapixel sensor, right? Use that. Use that. Double click. Okay. You see the 2x right there? Hit the 2x. Or even if you want to, crop in the 3x. And you'll still get very detailed pictures. I don't really understand this whole notion that a phone needs a shitty little telephoto lens that's only 3x. When in every single case, those telephoto lenses are trash. Like the dinky little 3x zoom lens that's on a Samsung phone that could only be used in daylight fucking blows. So can we stop acting like we need 50 sensors that do the same thing just at different focal lengths? Can we just stop? especially if we're putting these large sensors on phones, right? Why not utilize the grunt of this large sensor and some post-processing to make it to where you get a very detailed shot that just looks nice. You don't need a telephoto lens for a lot of these things. And in a lot of cases, unless it's a periscoping zoom lens like you have on a Pixel 7 Pro or an Xperia 1 Mark III or S23 Ultra, you're not really going to need a telephoto lens at all. Like a regular rinky-dink ass one that just does like a basic 3x zoom, which your main sensor can do just fine. So can we stop with that? Yeah, but 13 megapixel ultra wide, it's fine. It only does 4K 30. The main sensor does 4K 60. I wish the ultra wide did 4K 60 as well, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm not really going to be using it anyway, so it's whatever. On the front, you have I think this is a 13 megapixel front facing camera that can't do 4K 60 at all. It can do 4K 30, I believe. I don't know why I'm guessing. I could literally just check video. Yeah, it could do 4K, but it could only do 4K 30. So that sucks, definitely, but to me that's not something that I really care about. I don't use the front-facing camera on my phones, and I don't video call at all, so that's just not something for me. And for me personally, if you're using a video call app, it is never going to use 4K. So what is really the point, right? They never use 4K, so what's the point? Nice LED flash on the back, very bright. I've used it a couple of times. It's fairly bright. Plastic back, nothing that's like terrible. What I really do wish is that they went polycarbonate. That's the only thing, because I understand you wanted to make it look like the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro. I understand that, but in my experience, I don't like this glossy shit. I'm tired of it. Tired of it. And you have the camera bar that people either love or hate. I actually like it. It gives the phone a unique look. So, you can like it, you can hate it. I personally like it. In-display fingerprint sensor, Tensor G2. Sorry, bug flew on me. One thing I really like is that, one thing I really do like is the transition between the always on display and the lock screen, because it kind of does what I feel Apple tried to do with their always on display, where it never really looks like your display goes off. That's what this kind of gives me the feeling that they tried to do, and that's what this really feels like. And it's very nice how the wallpaper, you probably can't see it all that well because how it just melts into the background and the clock just stays right there. To me, that's nice. Obviously, it's not the most in-depth always on display. It's not an LG or Samsung or even a Motorola always on display. But to me personally, I feel like this is very nice. And it makes you feel like you're never really out of the know as to what's going on with your phone. The in-display fingerprint sensor is nice and fast. I don't really have any sort of issue with it. A lot of people are like, oh, the Pixel's in-display fingerprint sensor sucks. Look at this. Look, bro. Look. Is that too slow? Is that too slow? And that's just me doing one pass of registering a fingerprint. Yeah, that just goes one pass of me, registering my fingerprint. I didn't register 2, 3, 5 times. I just registered it once, and it's totally fine. And the same with my left thumbprint. My left thumbprint on the V60 acts a bit finicky. It's acted that way basically with my previous V60 as well as this one. And with this, I don't have problems with either. So to me, that's very nice. That's very nice indeed. The battery life of this phone, Honestly, I think it's fine. I don't necessarily think it's bad. It's comparable to my Xperia 1 Mark III, which is a 2-year-old phone at this point with a 4K display and a 4500 milliamp hour battery. That's probably a little bit less than that over the 2 years that I've been using it as my main phone. It could be better. The battery life could be better, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And 30 watt fast charging, which is variable. Some people complain about the charging speeds on this phone. I personally don't think it's that bad. Like, I think people see all these like 65, 68, 69 nice watt charging phones, and they just want every phone to be that. I personally don't care. Like, it would be nice. I'm not saying I don't want it at all. It would be nice, and I would like Google to have faster charging. Hell, go to 45 watt. I personally think 45 watts should be the minimum. But in terms of the fast charging on this phone, I use a 100 watt gallium nitride charger with this phone, and it charges fast. And I really don't have any sort of issue with like overvolting or anything of the sort, or the phone getting hot. The phone does what it needs to. The phone charges fast. Like, it roughly takes an hour and a half to charge fully from like 10% to 100, and to me that's totally fine. To me, I don't necessarily have an issue with that, and for the people that do, whatever, it's not my problem. But for me personally, I just don't have an issue. The bezels are pretty thick, but not too bad. A lot of people have an issue with that. I personally don't. I think bringing bezels back is totally fine. I don't see why people would have an issue with having more place to put your fingers so you're not accidentally touching the screen. But overall, that's whatever. It does have IP67 water and dust resistance. That's nice. It's not IP68, but 67. But 67 or 68, who really cares at that point, right? It's water resistant, and that's nice. There are a lot of phones that come out at this price point that just don't have that, or that don't officially disclose that they have that, so you don't ever really know. So it's nice that Google's like, yeah, water and dust resistance on this phone. Tensor G2, I want to talk about performance here, and how I kind of feel like people acting as if the performance on the Tensor G2 is horrendous or bad is severely overblown. I compared this to my Xperia 1 Mark III. Snapdragon 888, right? 12 gigs of RAM. Now this only has 8 gigs of RAM. And we'll talk about storage options and all that stuff later, and how my gripes with that are, should have more than one storage option, but we'll talk about it in a second. I think the Tensor G2 is totally fine. I just recorded a video on my Pixel 7a talking about the V60, and it was like a 25-minute video, 4K 60, right? Now there's probably going to be some issues where it might end up, varying the frame rate and all this other stuff. It did look a little bit choppy, but the phone wasn't hot in my hand. And it's like roughly 70 something degrees out right now. It's not horrendously hot, but it's getting warmer. So to me, that's actually a pretty good win. And the moment I stopped using the phone, it actually wasn't severely warm at all. So to me, that's a win in my book. And in terms of gaming, I played a little bit of games like King of Fighters All-Star. It only ran at like 45, 50 FPS. Not the best, but it's fine. You can get the job done. Other games, like, let me think here. Black Desert Online plays at 60. To me, that's fine. Gunfire Reborn plays at 90 FPS. Like, a lot of these games that I have on here, I haven't tried Streets of Rage 4 yet. A lot of the games that I have on this phone play well. Like, obviously, I'm not going to try Genshin Impact because I don't really play it. Like, a lot of the times, I really don't care about that game like that. So it's not really a benchmark for me. I care about the games that I actually play. And If it can play King of Fighters All-Star pretty decently, then that's fine. If it can play the games that I just listed off right there just fine, then I don't really excuse me, I don't really care. Hell, if it can emulate well, I don't care. And it can emulate well. Like, I emulated Sly 2 on the PlayStation 2 on this phone, and it plays very well. Ratchet Deadlocked from the PS2 plays very well. And to me, that's all that really matters to me. I don't need to play fucking Genshin Impact, bro. Like, I really don't. I don't need to benchmark that. Now, that's not to say that I'm sitting here and saying that with the Tensor G3, I don't want them to improve their GPU grunt at all. I really do feel like if Google doesn't completely drop Samsung, which they probably aren't, but if Google doesn't completely drop Samsung, they need to go in and actually probably design their own GPU architecture. Maybe. I don't know. But they need to do, if that's even possible, they need to do something though. Because utilizing this Samsung, manufacturing process is kind of hindering them. And I feel like the moment they move away from that, we can get some really good tensor performance. But overall, I feel like with things like software processing and all this other stuff that Google touts, I really do feel like the Tensor G2 does very well. Like, when I edit photos, it's fast. When I cut together videos, and you think, oh, editing photos, that shouldn't take that long. You'd be shocked. When 2 of the 3 phones that I have 64 megapixel sensors, and on one of them, half of the shots I shoot in 64 megapixel mode, you would be shocked how long it can take to actually fully render and process out that photo. Like, you would be completely shocked. So, yeah. But rendering video through LumaFusion, pretty damn fast. Really don't have any sort of issue with any sort of the processing power and grunt on that at all. In terms of like Bluetooth performance and like, say, 5G radio performance, I think the phone does very well. I utilize Bluetooth every day. So every night at work, I utilize Bluetooth. So, and I don't really have any sort of problems with it dropping out or anything of the sort. So for me personally, it's totally serviceable, man. It really is. I don't really see the issues that people are having. Like, what are those specific Bluetooth issues that people are encountering? I really don't know. Like, I genuinely want to know. In 5G performance, it's weird because I can't really talk about that because, one, the 5G performance on this phone has been very good, but on the other hand, what's been happening is that there have been outages in my area. So I don't know if I can really chalk up the phone losing signal as the phone itself just being bad, or if it's just T-Mobile's towers just being bad. So it's kind of like a give or take kind of situation. But in terms of Wi-Fi performance, the phone is also very good. Certain games will actually like obviously the best possible way to check download speeds is just download a big game. And I forgot which game I downloaded, but it was like downloading at speeds of like 50 megs per second. And whereas I think it was 7 Nights 2 that was doing that. And phones like the Xperia 1 Mark III was doing like half or like 20 megs per second. And that's not necessarily bad, but it's something to take into account, right? So overall, I really do feel like the performance issues are kind of overblown on this phone. It's not necessarily a thing where I feel, with the Tensor in particular, I don't feel like obviously, like I said, I would want the GPU to be bolstered up a little bit more for Tensor G3. But for Tensor G2, I feel like this is a very good spot for a Pixel 7a to be in. Very nice spot. Let's talk about the display. I have a couple gripes with the display, but mostly likes. The gripes that I have is that the brightness is a bit inconsistent. Like, It is a bit inconsistent. Sometimes the phone will look very bright. The display will look very bright. But I'm at full brightness right here, right? At around this level, it looks like around 50-ish percent, 50 to 60-ish percent of my V60's max brightness. So that's kind of inconsistent, but overall it's fine. Not really that big of a deal. 90 hertz on this display feels really smooth. I've heard a lot of people talk about the fact that they wish it was 120 hertz. No, honestly, no. Because you know what they should do? For the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro, both of those should have 120 hertz, and the Pixel 8a should keep 90 hertz. Keep 90 hertz for the cheapest possible phone. And really stick it to Apple. Because I bet you Apple this year is still going to have the base iPhone 15 and 15 Plus have 60 hertz displays. And what was the biggest thing that people pissed and moaned about with the Pixel 6a? Oh, it doesn't have high refresh rate or whatever. And they brought it here, and now people are complaining more. What do you guys want, man? Just because it's not 120, 90 is perfectly fine. Like, it isn't like Google is trying to make a fucking ultra uber gaming phone with this damn thing. They're trying to make the cheapest possible option for people to go into for their newest Pixel line. And to me, acting like every phone needs 120 hertz, quite frankly, is stupid. Sorry, these bugs are messing with me. They want me to get out of their domain, but you know, whatever. Overall, though, I really do feel like the 90 hertz is very nice. I wish the brightness was a bit better, but that's neither here nor there. Material U. Let's talk about Material U. The thing that everybody pissed and moaned about the Sony not having for so long, right? Let's talk about it here. I have likes and I have gripes with it, okay? The likes I have with it is that it does tend to theme the phone pretty well and make it to where primary colors take up accent colors on your display, on your overall home screen and layout. To me, that is very nice. What I don't like, though, what I do not like, is that they're mainly pastel colors. It would be nice, it would be very nice to me if they had more aggressive colors. Like when I put a harsh red, when there's a wallpaper on my phone that has harsh red in it, I don't want a blush red. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So it'd be very nice to have that sort of option. But Material U is cool. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. Widgets will respond depending on, you know, where you put. You probably can't see it all that well because of the high refresh rate or whatever. But it's a different color here. It's a different color there. To me, that's pretty cool. I honestly thought that was kind of a bug because one wallpaper I was using where the primary color was blue, it just decided to stay a different color until I moved into a different quadrant or whatever. Then it changed to blue or whatever, but it was fine. It's not that big of a deal. Material U's cute. That's all I can really say it is. I really do like the overall Pixel experience. I don't really have any sort of issue with it. I do like a lot of the user interface quirks and whatnot that it has. It really feels smooth. Like, gone are like the Nexus days of things just feeling very stark and obviously stock. Like, people call this stock Android. This is not stock Android. Stock Android is more what you see on the Xperia or like on cheapo phones or on Motorola phones. This is not stock Android. They literally call it the Pixel experience. It's just not that. I'm sorry. It's just not that. But yeah, overall, Pixel experience is nice. People complain about the the at a glance, initially I was, a little bit on it. I was like, why is this just sitting here? But over time, I kind of just got over it. Like, same with, like, the one thing I do wish is I could take off the damn Google search bar. That's the one thing. I can't seem to find that anywhere. And when I go on my Xperia and look at it through there to see if it's anywhere similar, I can't find the same kind of setting. So that's something I wish I can change. But the at a glance, having your weather just right there all the time is totally fine to me. I don't really have an issue with that. I understand people are customization junkies. I used to be. I'm 27 now. It doesn't really bother me. Like, especially since I tend to lay out my phones pretty much the same way, depending on which phone it is. So it's not really that big of a deal to me. But yeah, overall, the Pixel experience is very nice. Again, leaps and bounds over what we used to have with stock Android back in the day with the Nexus line, where it was just basic and didn't really have any sort of personality at all. Let's talk about the cameras. Pixels are known for their cameras, right? Hell, I kind of would like to think they named the Pixel because that was one of the first times before the Pixel 6 or the Nexus 6P and 5X or whatever the fuck they were called, the last Nexi they made before they went to Pixel. I'd like to think they named them the Pixel because of their focus on cameras, right? That's probably why. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I think the camera is really good on this phone because I only really use the main sensor. It does have I do have some issues with how Google handles processing in certain lighting conditions. Like, say, when you're in a darker area, a lot of the times it will bump up contrast a little bit too much and make the scene look a little bit too dark. But that's like one thing. And also, I do feel like sharpness could be a little bit better, but I do feel like that has to do with me just not knowing the proper focus distance to be from the subject with the phone and me just being used to the V60. So obviously that could just come through training. So I'm not really going to chalk that up to the phone, the camera itself being bad or the camera itself not being sharp. But overall, I do feel like this is the kind of setup that I would like to see for phones around this price range going forward. A big enough high quality sensor that can give you that very quality 2 to 3x telephoto-esque zoom, even though it's not telephoto, right? And the ultra wide, preferably a better ultra wide, and then a decent selfie camera for those who give a damn about that. What's really nice about this phone and utilizing the Tensor G2 is that a lot of phones in this price range that tend to have like a super large sensor that can do like, say, a full res mode or a 50 megapixel mode or whatever the hell, right? They tend to not have the processor run to process those photos in a fast manner, or they can't do 4K 60 video on the main sensor at all, or if they do, it can be very choppy and the phone can overheat. There are a lot of different variables as to why, or it doesn't have enough RAM or things like that, or it doesn't have enough storage, doesn't have SD card support, which obviously this doesn't have. And honestly, I do feel like for the point and shoot experience, this is the best possible way you can go. Like, especially for this cheap. I feel like you get a very good... God, that scene looks nice. I'm going to take a picture. I'm gonna end up using this for the... Sorry. That was actually a very nice scene. Use that for the thumbnail. Where was I at? Yeah, having a very good processor really does help. And 8 gigs of RAM to me is... Sorry, I've been talking for like 45 minutes without drinking water. But I think 8 gigs of RAM is plenty, but what's not plenty is the 128 gigs of internal storage in this goddamn phone. Dear Google, if you're gonna advertise your phone as having the Pixel camera experience and all this other stuff, and it can record 4K 60 video, very decent quality, very high quality, and all that, all that sexy stuff. The base storage needs to be 256. I'm not saying go 512. I would eat the extra $100 and have the phone be 256, have 256 gigs of internal storage. Because to me, 128 gigs in this day and age is just not enough. Like, that's like 3 to 5 games. And to me, that's kind of crazy, right? Like, if you don't play games, obviously, it's fine. But for me personally, I do feel like if you're going to be touting all this stuff, like, you don't have free unlimited storage for pixels anymore through Google Photos. So that's not even something you could tout anymore. Give us 256 gigs of internal storage and have that be the base. Have that be the base going forward with the Pixel 8s and beyond. Just have that be the case. Because 128 gigs is it's too little. It's too damn little. And to me, that's just something that I feel is the one sticking point of this phone that I don't like. Everything else I really do like. But next time, Google, like I said, everything else is fine. Storage needs a bump up. Because I know they're not going to give an SD card. Another thing that I wish they brought back, headphone jack. It doesn't make sense. People from the Pixel... When did they start the A series? The 3? The Pixel 3A to the 5A have had headphone jacks, Google. Why would you take it away? Why would you take it away? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Bring it back. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Oh, there's uniformity with the... No. Everything else looks like a damn Pixel. It operates like a damn Pixel. It feels like a damn Pixel. If people want a headphone jack, give them that option with the Pixel 8A. It doesn't even have to be the best damn headphone jack out there. But just give people the option is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like, if people don't want to go with the Pixel 8A and they want to go with the Pixel 8 and they want to go with the Pixel 8A because it has a headphone jack, let that be the case. Because otherwise, there's no reason to go to a Pixel 8 because the 8A is going to come out. It's going to have everything the Pixel 8 has, but cheaper. And that's just like, it doesn't make any sense. And in some cases, it might be a little bit better. Because it's basically, what the A series has become is just the regular Pixel phone of that year, but it's refined. And that's all it's basically become. And that's not a bad thing, but just give people the option is all I'm saying. Just give people the option. But that's all I can really come up with. Overall, I really do like this phone, and I plan on keeping it. It's going to be my main phone until I get the One Mark V, most likely. Whenever, if ever I get it. But overall, the Google Pixel 7a is a really nice phone. It doesn't feel like I spent $500 on a phone and got fleeced. And that's just me saying it as a bare minimum. That obviously should be the bare minimum. But it's the bare minimum plus more because the phone is really good. The cameras are really good. The overall user experience is really good. It doesn't feel like a mid-range phone. It feels like a flagship. It feels like a flagship killer. So, this is Sparta. Thanks for watching. Thanks for support. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys feel about this. Like the video if you like it. Share with people that are interested in this sort of content. And have a good one.